I'm a tape salesman.
A what?
A tape salesman.
Tape. Okay, like Scotch tape?
Basically, electrical tapes,
Oh, okay.
specialty tapes.
Interesting.
And it's an industrial distributor out of Atlanta, and I manage the state of Oregon.
Wow,
So I work
okay.
out of my home and manage our
You sell
customers.
glue, too.
I sell glue too, yeah.
Okay. Which
So.
is what happens when your horses go bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it.
Then you've got the little factory in the backyard, and you're out there stirring the pot, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Funny. Yeah.
So, well, that's interesting that you obviously have really different professional lives, but yet you came together through the music.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. It works. I mean, the only thing I can think of is just that when God puts something together, He makes it good, and it's been good.
And
So.
it's a family deal, which makes it so nice. I mean, you've got more than two, but two young children.
Yeah.
And we have 3 and one more on the way. And so it's so nice because when we have our times of practicing and our worship nights, the kids are all there. And so it works well with our lifestyle. It doesn't compete with what we're already doing.
Sure, because if you're doing a rehearsal, I mean, the kids can just hang out and be part of it.
And they know all our songs, and for me, that's a real blessing to see my kids
So
enjoying.
you have little backup dancers.
We do. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is. It makes it really fun. So.
Yeah, it's a real family atmosphere, that's for sure.
How did you learn how to play the guitar?
Well, I mostly taught myself. I took a few lessons here and there from some people, but mostly just sitting in my bedroom. But as a young child, I used to sit around at my grandpa's house, and every Sunday he would buy Dunkin' Donuts and play guitar. Yeah. Anyway, but my grandpa played with Tommy Dorsey. I don't know if you know who Tommy Dorsey
I do,
is.
of course.
So I was raised in the music,
Like big band,
Big
and
band.
swing, and all that kind of
jazz,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I was raised listening to that, and I really think that my grandpa had a huge influence on why I do what I do and why I am who I am. So when I got into junior high, I used to sing in all the choirs, and high school, and then after that I got out of high school and I would play in the clubs, and it wasn't until I went to that concert, the Stephen Curtis Chapman concert, that I realized, oh my goodness, all these things that I've done in my life, they were for a purpose. They weren't for nothing. And the purpose was to get me to a place where I realized that God has gifted me with something, and I need to realize, and give it back to Him. So.
And how did you guys sort of come to that same spot? Because obviously you were doing something else before, the soul and funk. That sounds a little bit different than what you're maybe currently doing.
Oh, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I guess it's a long journey to, I think, finding what God has planned for your life and where you're supposed to be, and not always listening, and kind of going your own way. And so I don't know. I couldn't really say exactly. I didn't have a moment like Tom did. But,
Or a Dunkin' Donut eating grandpa.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. But for Todd and I, we met because of music.
Okay.
So I think that's something
How'd you meet?
that's special. We went to the same church, and I asked him for some help with a song, and so that's always been part of our life.
Which we never actually performed.
We never
anywhere.
actually did the song, did we?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess that's just kind of ties us together, or one of the ways that kind of ties us together. So
I know it's kind of interesting when you think about it, especially I think for musicians, because it's collaborative, obviously a band getting together, but how everybody comes from a different place and all your paths, and then all of a sudden there you are at the intersection together at the right time.
Yeah.
it's really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. I know our manager, Mary, I was talking to her the other day, and she said, isn't it amazing to think that when I got saved, I was 8,000 miles away from here, and God knew that one day we were going to be in ministry together.
Where was she at the
in
time?
London.
Oh, she was in London,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's just amazing how He works,
And so you're from McMinnville, and where are you from?
I live about 3 miles out of town.
Okay, and how about you?
I grew up in California. I moved here about 16 years ago.
Okay. So everybody comes from a little bit different. And then Red obviously is from California if he was in LA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an old rocker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been around the block.
And how did he connect with you guys?
Well, I was at a church and I met him at a church, and he came up to me and he says, you're the real deal, And I was like, well, thanks, Red. That's really nice, And I didn't really know him. And he said, anytime you're going to be leading worship, I want to be playing with you. And I said, okay. So we just ended up being on the same worship team a lot, and he's just a great mentor. He's just got so much information on just the music in general. I mean, he's got great arrangement ideas on songs, and so I found out pretty early that I want to hang around this guy because he's a great tool. And so anyway, I left,
a good friend.
and he's a really good friend. And I left the church, and I didn't see him for a couple years, and I heard his name again in passing, and so I figured I'm just going to call him and see if he needs some help. And I called him, and he said, no, I don't think I need any help here, And then I said, well, I could use some help at my church. So he ended up coming and helping me one Sunday, and again, it's just been history since then. He's been with us ever since. So
how many church services a week does your church have where you play? Just the one?
yeah, they have one. They have one service now. I actually, March of last year, I resigned as worship leader so that I could focus all my time on what I really felt God wanted me to do. And so they've actually went to one service, and now I still lead worship there periodically, but my main focus is faithful to one, and if a church calls us, we go. And so
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we're not really tied to a specific church.
Okay.
We all come from, like we were saying, different
yeah,
backgrounds and different gatherings on Sundays or whatever day, we end up gathering. And so, we're not really,
Yeah,
right, tied.
they don't go to
Okay.
my church,
Yeah.
and Red doesn't go to my church. We're all just kind of,
So you will play at other churches
Yeah.
as
You
well?
bet, yeah.
And do you ever do a thing where, like, you go in there and sort of back up their choir, or their choir kind of backs you? I mean, when you do a collaboration?
We haven't done that.
no,
Nope,
haven't
we
done
haven't
that.
Like Sister
Yeah.
Act,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Sister Act.
That's what I'm
I do.
thinking.
I know what you're
Gold
talking
Marker.
about. Yeah.
That'd be kind of
It's a
cool,
fun
huh?
movie. Yeah. No, we haven't done that.
Yeah, we
I don't
haven't
know.
done that yet. I don't know that we ever will. I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to a lot of things. I feel like we're going to know if God wants us to do it. We're going to know. But something like that would be kind of fun, I think. So
Just a lot of different directions that you can do. I mean, since you have obviously a very sophisticated musical background between all the members of your band, you can kind of go in a lot of directions.
Hopefully.
yeah. I mean, when you
Yeah.
said sophisticated, I was just
I
thinking.
almost I was laughing inside when you said sophisticated
okay.
too.
Maybe she doesn't know us.
Well, I was giving you the benefit
Yeah,
of the doubt.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I just, I really think sometimes, at least I feel like I'm really the weakest link to the whole band, to be honest, because it just,
They think that too, but they're too polite to say
yeah,
it. Kidding.
yeah. But for one reason or another, we're all together, and it works, and we want it to continue to work. And, we've gotten invited actually to go to Medford and play, and then,
Oh, fun.
they want us to go play in Grants Pass when we're down in Medford. So,
Well, I guess if you're going to do that, you might as well make it worth your while and kind of set up a string of them up and back,
yeah,
huh?
and do at least a couple of them while we're down there, make it
Sure.
worth the time. So,
And take some CDs, because you never know.
Yep.
that's the plan. Yeah, our plan really is to just follow God, and wherever He leads is where we go.
So do you have any, since you've got this, you have the CD now that's finished,
Yeah.
are you having a release party?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the upcoming
The
date
one-
that we were talking
Okay,
about.
the one
February 18th.
that's coming up, which by the time this show airs, this will probably be past
Yes.
tense, I'm assuming. But
Yeah.
we'll say now that we know for sure it will have been really successful. And so, are you in the process of writing new songs at this point?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We're already working on new stuff. Actually, we're debuting 2 new songs that are probably going to be on our next CD. We're going to debut them on the 18th.
Oh, that'll be
Yeah.
fun. Great.
So.
That's been fun.
The idea is to take whatever funds come in from the donations from our current CD pay off some of the costs to put that one together and then fund the next one. So recording is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's a fun process.
It is. It's a totally different process than singing or playing live. It's a totally different, almost a different art form.
Yeah.
And I find it really fun.
Yeah.
You know.
What kinds of things, what's different about it for you?
You're playing in different rooms, for one thing. So I'm locked in a room, you can't see anyone else, and you just have headphones
You're
on.
alone in the room?
Yeah, in this
The drummer,
particular
yeah.
studio, yeah, there's a drum room.
Oh.
And so you're just listening, and I can't see if they're all laughing at what I'm doing
Or if they're following along.
Or if we're shaking our heads.
Yeah, so it's different because you're all separated. You don't have the feedback that you get live.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun to get in there and be creative and try to make something that sounds
'cause
good.
Yeah.
It's like you pull apart a puzzle. You know, you play it live, all as this one thing, and then it's like you pull apart the pieces to record it.
So now when you two and Red are all singing, are you in the same room?
Sometimes and sometimes not.
Sometimes
We
it can be
have,
weeks
but-
apart between
Yeah.
singing a lead and then
part and
back.
co-
Yeah.
So the energy we get kind of from each other when we're on a stage or just practicing or whatever, it's totally different when we go to do the recording.
Okay, so just suppose then that you can't hear, you're alone in this room and you're singing your part. Are you getting his part in your ear, or are you just singing your part?
It kind of depends on the song and if he
Okay.
recorded before me, and yeah, that's a possibility where you can hear what what everyone else has done already, and then add your part to it.
I'm just thinking in terms of, like phrasing, how a lot of
Yeah,
times,
it can be a challenge sometimes.
it's like a person took a breath or just strung it out a little bit longer. You know who I always think about would be the most difficult person to do a duet with is Willie Nelson. Because he never sings a song the same way twice.
Yeah.
And his phrasing is completely, like off the chart weird. And he sometimes you think, are you gonna hit it before we change chords or not? And then you kind of feel for the person who's having to sing along with him. Especially if it's a gal, because she's she's trying to do her part and sound really good, and then he's kind of like growling and weird, and I think, oh my heavens,
Not an easy person to blend with.
No, not
Yeah.
really. So I guess consistency helps if you know the person's little
the thing.
idiosyncrasies.
It's the consistency of knowing. I kind of know what he's going to do with his voice now sometimes, or
Yeah.
He's going to do that thing.
like
that he
when we
always does.
started practicing, I'd have to watch him to see where he'd cut off, and then when you go in the studio, there's no visual, so you have to just know what what he's going to do, and
Well, and
if I'm
when
matching. Or,
the second time we went to the studio, we did in a few different sessions. Vanessa was early on in the pregnancy and very, very sick.
Oh.
So there were
I went
actually
back and redid that one.
the most challenging song vocally you did where you were about ready to be sick. I'll just
Okay.
put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh my heavens. Okay.
But then went back because there was another one that just wasn't quite right. And went
Yeah.
back and redid
The energy
the vocals
wasn't there
on it.
'cause I didn't have any energy.
So.
Visual is so huge in a band. We watch each other all the time.
Of course, yeah.
It's just, and when, like he was saying, when he's in a room all by himself, he can't see anybody.
You just have a click in your ear. It's called a click track. It's
Like
like,
a
a,
little
like a metronome.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're just following along and hoping you don't mess up.
Wow.
And if you do, it's all on your shoulders.
And, and everyone's sitting there looking, well, this is costing me money, Todd. Let's move it along.
Sounds like a really great process, and it's going to be pretty exciting, I'm sure, for you to have this out in the public and see what your baby does, huh?
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Well, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate
you.
that,
Thank you.
and wish you a lot of success.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thanks.